There's a quiet war happening in every mind. Not the war of violence, not of chaos, but a war between who you were told to become and who you were meant to be. We are born with curiosity, wonder, imagination, but somewhere along the line, society hands us a rule book. Sit down, memorize, obey, fit in. We trade questions for answers. We swap imagination for instruction. And then we wonder why we feel empty. Here's the truth they won't teach you in a classroom. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. Because there is a world beyond textbooks, a universe beyond degrees, and a life beyond the limits of what others say you're qualified for. You were not born to memorize data. You were born to forge wisdom. And wisdom isn't handed out. It's hunted, it's carved, it's earned. Self-education is not a hobby. It is a rebellion. A rebellion against the idea that your value comes stamped on a certificate. A rebellion against waiting to be chosen. A rebellion against waiting to be taught. Jim Rohn said, "Don't let your learning lead to knowledge. Let your learning lead to action." That's what they never told you. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge applied is power. You can know every principle, read every quote, listen to every podcast, and still be stuck. Why? Because until you make that knowledge a habit, a decision, a step forward, it's just noise. And self-education? It's not just about books. It's about obsession, about reading when others are partying, watching documentaries while the world scrolls, asking questions that break the surface and dig into depth. Edison didn't invent the light bulb by taking notes. He failed thousands of times and studied each one. Carnegie built empires not through a university, but through obsession, mentorship, and a relentless pursuit of understanding. They weren't educated by systems, they were educated by life. You don't need permission to learn. You don't need approval to grow. You don't need a classroom to evolve. You need hunger. You need drive. You need to remember that every great mind in history, from Da Vinci to Musk, was self-taught in the things that mattered most. They used schools for structure, but used self-education for power. Because true education begins the moment you take control of your mind. It begins when you stop waiting to be spoon-fed and start devouring everything you can find. It begins when you stop asking for the syllabus and start writing your own. It begins when you realize no one is coming to unlock your potential. You have to pick up the key yourself. Because here's what no system will ever teach you. The moment you stop learning is the moment you start dying. Not physically, but spiritually, mentally, creatively. Life shrinks or expands in direct proportion to your growth. And growth is not a one-time event. It's a lifestyle, a discipline, a mindset. You've been taught to chase titles, degrees, promotions. But what if you chased mastery instead? What if you stopped collecting trophies and started collecting truth? What if you valued wisdom more than attention? What if you built a library in your mind more valuable than the diplomas on your wall? See, the world rewards those who know how to think, not just what to think. And self-education is the forge where independent minds are made. It doesn't require classrooms. It requires commitment. It doesn't demand tuition. It demands time. It doesn't come with applause, but it delivers freedom. Because the more you learn, the less dependent you become. You stop waiting for the government to fix your finances. You study money until you master it. You stop blaming your health on genetics. You study nutrition, movement, biology, and you take ownership. You stop outsourcing your mindset to social media. You study the great thinkers, the Stoics, the legends who endured far more and still rose above. Self-education creates self-leaders, and self-leaders shape the world. There's a reason the richest men in history, Carnegie, Rockefeller, Bezos, were voracious readers, because they understood the secret. When you control what enters your mind, you control what exits your life. Every book you read plants a seed. Every lesson you apply grows a root. And over time, you don't just change your thoughts, you change your outcomes. You stop speaking like a victim. You stop thinking like a follower. You begin to carry yourself differently, not with arrogance, but with awareness. You begin to see the world not as it is, but as it could be, and as you could shape it. Because the truth is, if you only learn what they teach you, you'll only go as far as they allow. But when you choose to learn endlessly, you make yourself unstoppable. You turn waiting into action. You turn questions into fuel. You turn books into bricks that build the life no system was ever designed to give you. You learn because you must, because your family depends on your growth, because your dreams demand more than what tradition can offer, because your future is too important to leave in someone else's hands. Jim Rohn said, if someone is going down the wrong road, he doesn't need motivation to speed him up. He needs education to turn him around. So turn around, pick up the book, press play on the lesson, ask better questions, take better notes, because the classroom is all around you. Every conversation, every failure, every experience is screaming a lesson. If only you'd listen. And when you start listening, really listening to life, you begin to understand something that the average mind will never comprehend. The greatest advantage in the modern world is not money, or privilege, or pedigree. It's the ability to teach yourself anything. And once you realize that, there is no ceiling, no limit, no permission required. Because the moment you become your own teacher, you also become your own liberator. No longer shackled to outdated systems, no longer confined by someone else's curriculum, no longer waiting to be told what to value, how to think, what to believe. You choose, you decide, you grow. Self-education is not just a path to success. It is a declaration of war on mediocrity. It says, I will not settle for what I was handed. I will not inherit the limitations of those before me. I will rise, not because I was chosen, but because I chose myself. Because once you start learning for real, not for grades, not for gold stars, not for resumes, but for transformation, you become dangerous to a system built on conformity. You become the one who can't be manipulated, who doesn't panic when the world shifts, who knows how to adapt, adjust, and reinvent. That's the power they never told you about. That's the secret weapon hiding in every book, every podcast, every lesson you choose to pursue on your own. And in the quiet moments, when others scroll, when others sleep, when others chase comfort, you study, Not to impress, not to perform, but to prepare. Because you understand what the average never will. Your mind is the soil, and every seed you plant today will grow into the forest that feeds your future. So plant relentlessly, read voraciously, question endlessly, apply ruthlessly. And when people ask how you did it, how you rose, how you overcame, how you built something out of nothing, you'll smile, not out of arrogance, but clarity, and say, I became a student of life. I taught myself what the world refused to teach me. I educated my soul when no one else was willing to. Because the greatest investment you'll ever make is not in stocks or businesses or brands. It's in yourself. And when you become your greatest asset, the world can't help but change in your favor. This is the value of self-education. It is not optional. It is not a luxury. It is the foundation of freedom. So never stop learning. Never stop growing. Never stop becoming. Because the moment you decide to teach yourself is the moment you become unstoppable.